knows what a rain garden is? All right, maybe like half the room. Well, I didn't know about 2 years ago what a rain garden was, and I didn't know 6 years ago what immersive media was. I'm a filmmaker. My background is in media making and storytelling. I owned a creative agency for about 10 years. And in about 2014, I got my first dose of immersive media. And this is an image of me. We were touring festivals, and I was at the Tribeca Film Festival trying an experience that puts you in the rainforest, where you get to see a tree grow from seed to adult, and then it rains, and they like spritz water on you, and then all of a sudden you smell fire, and they're like lighting a match near you and like wafting the smoke at you, and you're like, oh no, I smell fire. And the rainforest is getting burned down. And it was this like, an experiment in immersive media's ability to create empathy and to create educational experiences. And I was sold. I've been working in this field ever since 2014. And one of the experiments that I did is I went and filmed the national parks in virtual reality. It was the 100th anniversary of the national parks, and I thought, what better way to celebrate that in this new field that I'm getting into than to historically preserve forever the national parks in a way that once Glacier National Park doesn't have a glacier anymore, and once the Redwoods National Park doesn't have redwoods anymore. People can look at it and remember these places that we protected. And that kind of like inspired me to get out and engage people with this medium. And so when I came back to North Carolina after working on that project, I went to schools and museums and festivals and city governments sharing this project. Ended up working with the city of Apex to work on something called Prescription Parks, where we helped show people what the park facilities looked like, because people were afraid to go to certain parks because they didn't know what it offered them. And virtual reality allowed them to see like, oh, look, there's water fountains and benches and people fishing and people saying hello to each other. And I've had a lot of experience in this medium, but a lot of it so far has been in storytelling and educating. And when Riot did their search for ideas for this festival, for this challenge, more like, there were 3 problem areas. The problem area was use augmented reality to reestablish the convention center as an economic hub. Use augmented reality to develop workforce development in the data economy. Use augmented reality to make city services more equitable and accessible. I had to take pause because I had been working in this field for like over 6-7 years. I was like, augmented reality isn't magic. Can it do those things? And my first reaction was to say, I don't know, and kind of walked away from it. And later that night, I started thinking, no, I'm in this field. I'm in this area. I know these cities. I know these problems. I know this tech. If these questions can be answered, I need to figure out answers to them. So after talking with my team and putting a bunch of ideas out there, the one that I chose, the problem area that we chose to work on our team, was making city services more equitable and accessible. Well, in the city, some of the services, a lot of people don't even know what services the city offers them. It's you kind of got to go do research. Like, what does the city do for me? And some of the big things that the city offers is stormwater management and waste management. I think even my grandmother growing up, that was like the one thing I knew is like, there's the trash can. That's what the city is doing, like taking the trash away, and people know that. But stormwater management, it's not as much in your face as the trash cans are, but it's a huge thing. And it wasn't until maybe a few years ago when this condo started popping up, and that condo started popping up, and this condo started popping up. It seems like when you cover the ground with concrete, the water runs off, and it floods parks and sometimes people's homes or cul-de-sacs. And this is a big thing for the city to try and figure out. And this was a huge educational opportunity for us as well to think about how augmented reality and what we were doing could serve that purpose and that need. Well, about 2 years ago, in our yard, it actually has this problem of flooding. I live in Durham, and we got a newsletter or something from the neighborhood that said that the city was offering consultations for rain gardens. And we're like, oh, that would be interesting. Let's look into that. And we got a pamphlet and an email from someone at the city, and then we talked to our landlord about what it meant, and we emailed them back, and they emailed us again, and we called them and left a message, and they called us back, and then someone came out basically 6 months later, we weren't any closer to understanding what a rain garden was or what it would take, and then eventually we didn't get a rain garden. But when this project started again, I thought, well, what a good opportunity to try and see if augmented reality can help that problem. So to go back to the question we had at the beginning, when I explain rain gardens to people, those that don't know what a rain garden is, they think it's a garden that sometimes has rain in it, which is true. But it's also known as a bioretention facility. Rain gardens help filter pollution from runoff, reduce stormwater load, and beautify green spaces. And I think many of us would assume that a rain garden would beautify a green space, but I didn't know that it had purposes or benefits beyond that. Even to the point that in the city of Portland, what they call these initiatives like rain gardens is green infrastructure. And in Portland, they were able to save $63 million on their stormwater management budget by using green infrastructure. Many cities are under court order to reduce polluted runoff and bring local waterways in line with federal clean water standards. And now cities like Durham and Raleigh are offering rewards programs. I didn't know about this, but actually the city of Raleigh will assess your rain garden and cover the cost because of its benefit to the city as far as stormwater management. Well, why didn't my garden work out? It's because it's a lot of work. Someone has to design the garden. Someone has to come out and look at it. They have to see if the ground perks. Then I have to go to my community or my partner and say, do we want to do this in our front yard? And then someone has to come out and install it, and they have to do it with certain plans, a certain distance away from the road. There's a lot of parameters, and I can understand why it may be difficult for a city that doesn't have a whole dedicated team to rain gardens to grow this green infrastructure initiative. So using augmented reality, we put together a hypothesis that we could create initiatives that we had been working on prior with Nature XR, where we were creating virtual natural environments, and apply it to rain gardens. So what people would be able to do is go into their front yard, draw a space on the ground. Oh, I think this is where we want the rain garden. Hit go, and it would populate it with plants that they put in the list. And even the city of Raleigh, it has a list of plants that are good to put in a rain garden, that are not just beautiful, but native, good pollinators, and also good for something like when water builds up in the rain garden. We put together, as part of our sort of build up to our pitch at Riot, we put together an advisory team, which included a team member, someone from the city of Raleigh, Justin, someone from Just Green Landscaping, John Wade, and Kim from Village Hearth Community. So after talking with Justin, he validated many of our ideas about how augmented reality could help maybe shorten the time that it would take to get a rain garden installed. Maybe educate people on what it offers and show them instead of telling them. And even allow the city to visualize the data, not of what would that rain garden look like if it was built, especially if it was in a public space like a park or a median or something like that, but also to see what kind of offset it would offer if all the rain gardens that people downloading the app and designed and took a picture of in their front yard, if all those got made, there's a lot of interested people. How much would we offset if we put some energy into that based off the size of the rain garden and the placement of it? And then John Wade's story was super inspiring. It took our project to the next level. He said 2 years ago, he owns a landscaping company, and he didn't even know what rain gardens were really. His whole team was blowing and edging RTP yards. And he said that's, good, solid work, but is not the most fun and the most fulfilling. And so he took one little class about rain gardens and was sold, and now most of his business is installing rain gardens. He flipped out about our idea about augmented reality. He was like, I don't think you know what you have. Can I invest in this project? Because I need this, and I could use this with every single garden we install. So Kim came to me from a mutual friend, and she had just recently pitched her community, it was a co-housing community, on a rain garden, 2 different rain gardens. And she said it was increasingly difficult to educate the team, the advisory team at the community on what a rain garden was, the benefits of it, and most importantly, what it would look like. She didn't get a drawing from the landscaping company, and after you install a rain garden, it actually kind of still looks like a mud pit for a little while, until the plants flourish and start to take root. And she said that this application would have helped her educate her community and also get buy-in from stakeholders to make it happen. So using the technology we developed from an Epic Mega Grant from Epic Games over the last year and a half, we created a procedural garden design program that would allow people to design any shape in their garden, and it would fill it with appropriate plants. These are all procedurally generated 3D models. And procedural just means that no one had to sit down and design it. Like, put this plant there, put that plant there. We can generate a list of approved plants, and it can populate that garden in a way that allows the person to easily get a visually satisfying imagery for their augmented reality experience. We paired our augmented reality solution with a partnership through BrandXR and Adalo, which is a no-code app movement. So I don't know if you've heard about no-code, but basically there are solutions out there where you can develop applications without knowing code at all. Adalo's theme, sort of their subline is easy to make an app as making a PowerPoint presentation. It wasn't that easy, but it was pretty good. I was able to put together a proof of concept for our pitch at the Riot Your Reality competition. And now I want to show you kind of this is me using our proof of concept app. People can download it, sign in, and choose whether they want a garden that's just planted a few weeks ago or planted after a year. And augmented reality allows you to actually project that 3D visual with its accurate dimensions into the real world. So I scan the ground. It projects or augments that 3D garden that I designed into my backyard. And I can actually go and take photographs. And this is actually really not even possible without augmented reality. I can go take photographs of if the garden was installed, how close it is to the house, which is a parameter for the city in approving rain gardens, how close it is to the road. And also I can take pictures to show people what it looks like in front of the house, maybe generate a new garden because I didn't like the first one that it generated. And then this can be given back to the city for approval, or it can be given to the landscaper so they can actually use this as parameters for installing the garden. Cool, I don't think I have any more slides. Yep. So, does anyone have any questions? Because I found when I pitched at Riot, it was very exciting because I did not think we were had any chance of winning. All the good ideas and all the talented people that were there, but what really connected with the judges was we had a very clear, specific idea, and contrary to my background of storytelling and entertainment and awareness building, this app had serious utility, which in a believer of immersive media, that's what I'm looking for now. Opportunities to show the utility of this technology to help shorten how much time it takes to install a rain garden, maybe reduce the labor for the city, and promote green infrastructure, which I think is not just good for the city, but also good for the natural environment as well.
Is it on? Okay.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily have a question for you, but I just want to say this is really amazing work. I feel like what you did for the competition here is really inspiring. And I hope that the city is also thinking about, and other municipalities will think about using tools like this as a way not only to do what you were doing with rain gardens here, but as a way to really help citizens see the impacts of new applications for connected communities, for smart cities, and really be a tool to engage citizens in that work. So great job. It was very creative and very interesting.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I agree. I think what I've learned over the last few years when, talking in the startup world and pitching investors is I have to kind of be 10% of myself or 10% of the full idea. Because if you present the complete possibilities of all the technology, it just overloads everyone and they're not sure which one to focus on. And it really worked well for us to just focus in on one problem and just say, can augmented reality do something about this issue?
Yeah, I really like the idea as well, and just thinking that it could be extended easily to be a rooftop or building pollinator garden for the bee downtown type initiatives that are taking place. So I don't know if you've thought about other extensions beyond just sort of a residential rain garden, right? Like how could enterprises build on top of their office space?
Yeah, totally. Thank you for that idea. I think I do see this being a tool for cities, an exciting awareness building tool to give to the citizens to not only raise awareness about a service that the city offers of stormwater management, but also allow them to play a part in it, which is realizing that designing a rain garden with this app could lead to a garden, and then also get the educational awareness of the benefits that garden would not only bring to the city, but also to the natural environment as well. I want to thank everyone involved in the Riot Reality Challenge. I think everyone, Tom and everyone at Riot is so supportive. They're such an amazing community to be a part of. And everyone, including the judges and the contacts that came out from the city governments that supported the Riot Your Reality Challenge, were so supportive of our idea and lifting it up and lifting us up and saying, you could do this is possible. And even getting on bi-weekly or monthly meetings and saying what's your plan? Where are you guys at? Do you need us to introduce you to anyone? Even being here today is a product of that, and I really appreciate it. We're planning on putting together a pilot in the beginning of next year with the city of Raleigh and maybe some other, maybe piloting from not just the city side, but also the landscaping side, seeing how it can help landscapers promote rain gardens and plan them as well. I think the most exciting part for me is I'm an activist. And that's how I got that. I believe in the ability for technology and media and business to be that activism. To not be against something, but be for something. And finding this was such a merge of my love for the natural world and my dedication to telling nature's story, and merging it with a seriously cost-saving initiative like rain gardens, which not only uses nature to beautify, but also serve real utility for the city as well. At the end of my pitch at Riot, so many people came up to me and they're like, the tech, love the tech, but tell me more about rain gardens. And I really enjoyed that. And I'm working with the science director of Unique Places to Save right now to come up with methods that we can actually use our database of approved 3D plants to allow this augmented garden technology to even help the city assess how much water this garden would offset by including data with every 3D model. Every plant would come with data about percent moisture. That would let you see, in this garden, this is how much water would be offset from the city system. So I think there's a lot of possibility in it, and if anyone, I'll stay here a little bit. If anyone wants to talk to me more about it, I would love to. Thank you.